Hey everyone, it's Ravenhawk6910 reporting once again. Welcome back to the layout. So, I understand the blog video is a little late this time. There have been some things that came up. There was a tree that fell on the train room a few days ago, as you can see in this photo here. So I've been having to get that taken care of, and then I've also been working on a few projects, fixing some mistakes, and a bunch of other things. But I'll get to that later. In the meantime, let's get started with this month's blog video. In this month's blog, you're going to see a lot of things different about the layout, and you've already seen quite a bit in this preview at the beginning. Some are good, some are not so good. But in the meantime, let's kick things off with the good stuff. As you probably saw at the beginning, I finally got my C32-8 going. So as you can see here, 8461 is completely finished. Its transformation took about, I guess I started it around, the time of the first blog video, so that's been a couple of months. But it's been a long haul, but at long last I finally have a working C32 Ballast Express unit in my fleet. And it's beautiful. It's probably one of my better engines that I operate. And as you can see, it goes quite well with an older consist, like those units back there, for example. And you probably actually saw, I actually had 8461 finished for a while, and you can see it featured in one of my other videos, which is a Conrail post-merger style coal train being pulled by some of my Conrail units, including this one. So, but like I said, it's good to finally have a working C32-8 in my fleet finally. I'll get to some of the other projects and locomotives here in a little bit, but getting back to the layout itself, as you remember in the last blog video, I had talked about double tracking the layout. Well, that is still going to happen, but not quite how I expected. For as you can see, there have been a few major changes to the layout. And actually, there are differences between my Conrail coal train video and the configuration that you're seeing right now. For example, the station used to be right about here. But now, in the Conrail video, it was up against the wall over there. Now, it's over here. I actually got a few buildings for my birthday, and that's what made me do the first configuration change. So, as you probably saw, one of the new buildings that I got recently, thanks to my mom, this was a birthday present, was this Walther's coal mine, coal loadout. So, in order to get this to fit, I've always wanted a coal mine for my layout, so that way I can have something to run my coal train to. So, what I had to do was I had to build an extension off of the main line that loops back into itself. I say loop, connects on one end and then reconnects on the other. That way I can just pull the coal trains in head first, as you saw there at the beginning, load the trains out going forward, and then pull through the main switch and then back onto the main line once again. Now, that's not usually how you see Norfolk Southern trains going through coal loadouts. Normally, on the Pocahontas Division, trains are backed into the mines with a caboose that is put on the back. But because of the space, I really didn't have an option to do that, so I had to go with a loop track. But I am not going to complain. I finally got a decent coal mine, and it looks great. The second industry that I got for my birthday, courtesy of my mom, was the Glacier Gravel Plant. Again, another Walther's kit. This kit is missing some parts. It was already assembled when she got it, but I may be able to track down some parts for it and finish it up eventually. But it is relatively nice, and as you can see, I've got a single hopper in there and the caboose and then my slug set. And that's just primarily what we'll just run there. I've only got one track open to use. I figured the other part, maybe I could use it for, like maybe a truck pull-in or something like that. So, But again, it looks nice, and I'm really glad I got a couple of big industries on the layout now, instead of just having just the furniture plant and have everything else be a through train, roughly. So, again, I really appreciate it, Mom, and thanks for the birthday presents. Then, I also got a recent upgrade to the layout. The newest upgrade to the layout, as you can see, are these 33¼ degree curves. That's right, folks, 33¼ degrees. These are the widest curves that I have yet put on my train layout. They can handle just about anything. And as you can see in the first part of the video, you see 1218 with my excursion train. A good chunk of those cars are some of my Walthers equipment that I previously was not able to run. Even on my 22-degree curves, they would still derail. But now, thanks to these new curves, I can run pretty much anything. So, and I did that for a few reasons. One was for needing the wider curves and being able to run my Walthers equipment and a few other things. But the big reason I got it, well, I'll explain at the end of the video. As you may recall, I talked about double tracking the layout at one point, and while yes, that is still a prospect, there's going to need to be some changes happen before I can do that at this point. This track out here is the track with the 33¼ degree curves. This is the inside loop, and it still has the old 22-degree curves. So I may look into at one point getting some more 33¼ degree curves, but we'll just have to see. I actually had to trade in all of my 18-degree curves in order to get these tracks. Also, another issue at this point is right down here at this switch. These 3 points, set of points right here, one track here goes off to the gravel plant. This track here goes off to the second main line, and then this track obviously is the main track. The problem lies right here with this switch. Instead of having the main line come in like this, I need to put a diamond in right here. But I'm not sure if Bachmann makes a diamond to this particular kind of track angle. So I'm going to have to look at it, because it'll need to connect here and both here, so that way I can connect here, because this track also leads off to the coal mine. So I need to have this track curve and then loop back up to the main in order so I can have the mine working as well as running locals to the gravel plant. There's another issue with the track in terms of the double tracking itself, and I'll go down right to the other side and show you. The other issue lies with this track right here. If the main line would be coming around this way, it would again have to cross over with a diamond of some sort right here. But the biggest issue of all, and one you really can't get around in terms of this current configuration, is that's all the clearance you have behind the coal mine. Not much. This is another industry spur right here, which goes to the furniture plant, that I'm going to have to find a way to connect into the main line right here. So the double tracking may not happen at this point. I may be able to move the coal mine back a little bit to make room for the track, but at this point I'm not interested in doing that. That's just extra work that I don't have to do, so we'll just have to see what happens. Another thing you probably saw at the beginning of the video with my intermodal train is the fact that there were more loads on the train this time. I've been putting a lot of money into containers and trailers for my intermodal train this year. I figured last year I worked mostly on my coal train. This year I would work on my intermodal train, since I love stacked trains, I love auto racks, and I love TOFC traffic. So, let's go with it and have some fun, because I really just haven't had a whole lot of intermodal stuff. So these trailers that you see on here, these 2 Conrail 45-footers, were also birthday presents from my mom, so another shout out to her. And then this 40-foot trailer, that's this blue one right here, this was one that I've had for a while, and I just repainted it. It was originally a Pacific Fruit Express one, just an old Athearn ready to roll one. and I just stripped the paint and just put a coat of blue on it. I thought just for fun to put a CSX boxcar logo on the side of it. I thought that would be kind of cool, since we've got a lot of boxcar logo containers, but no trailers. So just a little fun thing that I'll probably do later on. As for containers, everything you see here are all the containers I ever own. I've got 53 footers, I got 40 footers, 48 footers, and then one single evergreen 20 footer right there. The 53 footers are all brand new. The first four are Walther's ones, and then these two Canadian National ones on the top are made by Concor. I actually saw a set of these Canadian National containers in another video by a fellow YouTuber. His name is BA Rail System. Some of you guys may know him. He's a lot more popular than me. But he models Canadian National and Canadian Pacific. And he's got a really cool layout at his place. And he does some really nice stuff with his models. But in one video, one of his recent videos, he was showing his intermodal train with his double stack cars. And some of the new containers he had picked up were these Concor Canadian National We Deliver containers. And I'll grab one of them right here to show you. These containers are really unique. I just think they're so cool. Naturally, we never see these kinds down here in the South, but they're still really cool containers. And I love the paint scheme on them. I just think they're so sharp. But these are the newest containers that CN has been using, or at least the new paint scheme. And like I said, these are made by Concor. The only problem that I have with these Concor containers is, unlike all of these others, except for that one NS Triple Crown trailer over there, all of these, the connection plugs normally for containers are on the bottom. These are on the top. So they don't lock into place good with other containers. You have to just more or less sit it on top and just hope it doesn't slide off, which I have had that happen a few times. So, that's a problem, but it's not a major problem. I usually keep these two paired up anyways, so I don't have to have that problem. Now, in some cases, if you wanted to, you could glue the containers together, but you really want to be able to swap the loads out if you wanted. The only exception I've made to that rule is I've glued the Triple Crown container over there to the top of one of my Santa Fe ones. But those are the only two I plan on running in that car. So I'm not really worried about that. But on to the 40 footers. One of them is blocked by the trailer. Is that Canadian Pacific one I've had for a while. Another one I've had for a while is the American President's Line one and the John Deere one. So those are not new. The P&O ones and the Trident one, those are both new. Those are both Walther's ones. I found them at a train show a couple of weekends ago. The Evergreen one's one I've had for a while, but just really haven't had anywhere to put it until now. And obviously you've seen the two Santa Fe containers and the Triple Crown container before. So, all in all, getting a pretty good collection of intermodal stuff. One thing I am going to look into at some point, I've decided just to put a makeshift intermodal yard right here. You're just using a combination of the containers and trailers themselves and selective compression. For those of you that don't know, selective compression is what happens when you take a building or an item and essentially cut it in half or to whatever length you want it and put it up against the wall to create basically an illusion of depth. And by reducing the depth of the buildings or the items that you put on there, more space is allowed for the trains. And by using the back portions of buildings, you get more buildings out of the same number of kits. So, what I've thought of doing is putting a industrial or cityscape style background behind this area and maybe taking a used crane of some kind that I could find and cut it in half and just stand it up against the wall there just to represent an intermodal facility of some sort. But another thing that I came across, and I have to give a shout out to my friend Ashley Rodriguez for pointing this out to me, There are also companies that make intermodal containers on cardstock. They are to scale. I have looked into these. They are to scale. A lot of them are weathered, which is always a plus, so less work to do. So, whilst I'm using all of these containers out on my real intermodal train, I could get a bunch of these cardstock ones and stand them against the wall, so that way you can have representations of the containers still there and not have to use up many of your real ones. So that's definitely something I'm going to look into. They're a little on the pricey side for me right now, but it is certainly an option to look into, and I certainly will be doing that. Since now I've got these wider curves installed on the layout, I thought it would be a good time to show you what my excursion train looks like as of right now. Today I've just got the 1218 up front, so I'll go ahead and pull the train forward a little bit. Usually if I'm running a steam locomotive, I'll hook up this water tender behind the engine. You probably recall it from one of my previous videos. I picked this up at a train show a couple years ago. It's just a Bachmann Spectrum one, nothing special about it. The next couple cars in the consist are these two Southern Railway passenger cars. This Diner is an Athearn ready-to-roll one, and the only change I've really done to it is I've put shelf-style couplers on it. And then this Concours one, which is the newest, this one I got at a trade show over the weekend, same place where I got the containers. So, and it's got custom drapes in there, so I thought that was kind of cool. So, picked that up for about $15. Immediately behind that is the Norfolk Southern business car, the Delaware, which the Delaware, for those of you that don't know, the Delaware is an ex-Conrail business car, and it was originally built for the Santa Fe for the Super Chief in the late 50s. So it's the only dome car in the NS business train fleet, so it's pretty cool. Immediately behind the Delaware are these two green sleeping cars that were the property of the Truesville Southern Railroad. The Truesville Southern is a layout that belongs to my friend Jason True, and he sold me these two cars recently. The first one is the 1507, and then this one is the 746. The 746 is actually lettered for Robert M. Sewell, who was the president of the Tennessee Valley Railroad Museum in Chattanooga. He passed away a few years ago, but he was one of the founders of the museum. So I thought it was kind of cool that that car was lettered for him. The chassis system dome car was featured in a previous blog video, so I'm not going to go over that one again. This Pullman business car right here, or not business car, coach, is a Walthers one. This one belonged to my friend Dick Taylor, and this is just nothing fancy, just a Walthers coach, but it's still pretty nice, and I do like it. And then behind that is this Southern Railway River Rossi Crescent Limited observation car, which is labeled as a business car. It's the Joel Chandler Harris, and it's a Pullman. So an older car, but I still like it quite a bit. And then behind that is another business car, this one a Walthers, also a Pullman. This is the first Walthers car that I got. And it comes with decals, so you can name it, but I just haven't named it yet. Mostly because I haven't even been able to run it until now. And then behind that is one of my first passenger cars that I ever got, which is this, another Bachmann Superdome. This one originally came from the McKinley Explorer set. I hope I'm saying that right. The Alaska Railroad set, we'll go with that. And this one was repainted into the Chattanooga Southern paint scheme. The Chattanooga Southern was the name of the model train layout, which is at the Chattanooga Choo Choo Hotel. And my friend Carrie repainted this car into this scheme, and I've just recently stripped the paint and given it a fresh coat of Chattanooga Southern colors. And then I also added the window tinting to the dome on the roof, just to give it a little bit of a better look, in my opinion. And then finally, the last car on the train is this Cato business car, streamlined business car for the Baltimore and Ohio. And this is another one that belonged to my friend Dick Taylor. And this car is kind of cool. It has a Little added bonus feature, which is why I always put it on the back, and I'll show you this right now. You'll have to excuse me since I've only got the track on low amperage, but otherwise the train will take off without me. But as you can see, these the bulbs on the back of the car actually light up. So, I'm actually going to turn the lights off here so you can see it a little better. Let me do that here quickly. And there you go. You can see the lights on the car much better. It has the marker light on the back and then the two red and green classification lights on each side. And then the drum head on the back is just the standard Baltimore and Ohio logo. But I do really like this car. It's definitely one of my favorites. Another big change which has come to the train room this past month is during the snowstorm that we had, I just decided to move my workbench and everything that was in the living room. The TV, of course, was already out here, but all of my table and workbench areas that were previously in the living room out here. So that's exactly what I did. This small table here, which is junked up with just about everything you can imagine, was previously in the living room, and that's where my custom jobs were based out of. Now I've moved it out here, use this table now for holding, and set up this large collapsible picnic table for my projects. And I got the TV moved over here off of the rickety, about to fall off computer stand. So, and then up here hung some artwork. There's a carving right there. There's my poster of Great Smoky Mountains Railroad 1702. And then back here is my Norfolk Southern Heritage Unit poster, which is signed by Andy Fletcher, great guy. And then down here, this is where all the main action happens. So, and I've also got a couple of storage tracks right here that I just tentatively keep projects where I'm working. And from here we'll go on and I'll start showing you some of the new stuff and old stuff and good stuff, bad stuff. So let's get started. New people to the layout won't recognize this unit, but for those of you that do know, this used to be my Conrail Ballast Express C32-8, the first one that I did. And I wasn't able to get a frame for it, and it didn't attach well when I finally did get a kind of ghetto frame for it. So it more or less just became a dust collector. Now, it's still a dust collector right now, but I do have some plans in the work for it. As you can see, I've stripped the Conrail Ballast Express colors off of it, and I've put it in a fresh coat of Norfolk Southern black. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, this is a C32, and that's only had C39s. But I can get away with this because I found out that the first two C39-8s on the roster were the X-demonstrator units. They were eventually renumbered 8550 and 8551. This one, which is going to represent the 8550, and I see here, the demos were housed in C32 car bodies. So, even though they had the upgraded electrical and horsepower ratings, they were still housed in the C32 bodies. They had not gotten the longer frame or the changes to the hood done yet, so they were just housed in what they basically had at the time. So this one's going to become the 8550, the first one on the roster. And I've already got most of the paint on it. I'm just waiting to eventually find a frame. This is just going to be an as time allows project, so, but hopefully it'll eventually be a good running model on the layout. Another unit that has become a long-time resident now of the workbench and the new display track is NS7003, the GP50 high hood that was featured in my November featurette. I just haven't had time to work on this unit any, and I still haven't found a frame for it. It still needs a few parts. The one thing I have done is I did install the rear number boards on the back, and I did get those painted anyways, so, and I still need to get one more number board for the front. I need to get a snowplow for the front end. There's already one on the back. I need to get a frame, motor, and trucks for it. and I need to get front handrails and then one of the side handrails there as well. So, you know, it's moving on, but at least this one's mostly complete. It was mostly complete when I got it, but I just haven't featured this unit in a while, so I figured I'd go ahead and show you guys quickly. Sitting at the back of the first display track is NS6127. This is a ex-Norfolk & Western SD40-2 that I've been working on for a while. And I've got most of the paint on it. It still needs some decals here and there, and it needs a motor. But again, this is just an as time allows locomotive, but at least it's coming along smoothly, and it has most of the correct detail parts already on it. So, and again, this is just an Athearn Blue Box SD40-2. Standard fare. Again, most of my SD40-2s are like this. So, I just really find them to be great for custom jobs. So, there's this unit. Tucked behind the 8550 here on the second display track is what has become of the NS Pier 6 hopper. This car is coming along pretty nicely. I've got all the decals done on this one side. I still need to work on the other side. I've got the sheet right here. This is the small decal sheet that you can order off of eBay that has everything you need to do the Pier 6 hopper. And it's really nice, not too expensive. I think it's about $10. But it's still going to be a while till I get this car put back into service with my coal train, but as soon as I do, it's going to be a great addition to it, and I'm really liking how it's coming out already. Now sitting here in front of you is Dash 9 8820. You may recall this top hat from my last blog video. It's coming along very nicely. Like I said, most of it was already done when I got it, but just finishing up the decals on it. I've already hit it with a clear coat, and I've already started installing some of the windows, as you can see there. And but it still has a pretty good way to go until this unit's complete. The biggest problem with this unit, and one you can't get around, is the fact that the snowplow was mounted way too low. And what I mean by that is whenever you would run the unit on the layout, you'd hit a dip in the track, the plow would scrape against the railhead, and eventually when the paint wore out, it would short out the track. So, there you go. So I've got to reposition the place where the plow's mounted, and I still need to get some more detail parts for it. I need to get a rear headlight for it as well. So, but, you know, eventually it will get finished, and at least it's coming along nicely. Unlike the next set of items, which I unfortunately must show you now. And now I present unto you the Georgia Northern Model Railroading Wall of Shame, sponsored by Danger Douglas. And so, unfortunately, that's where most of the good stuff ends, and I have to move on to show you some of my rather disappointing screw-ups from this month. This is just a normal Athearn Blue Box SD40-2 frame, but the significance of it is that it belongs to the 3490, which is one that I got in my November featurette featuring the Dash 9 and the GP50. So, 3490 was pretty much complete decal-wise. It had a few more things to go. It needed some handrails. And finally, once I got all those done, I took it out and hit the dull coat on it, and it crackled all over the unit. Thanks to our shitty winter weather, and I just didn't think about it. I took it out on a day when it was too cold, and there you go. So now, thanks to this, I'm going to have to start all over again. But wait, there's more! Speaking of there's more, let's talk about my Admiral cab! You guys remember it from my last video. And since I was snowed in for so long, I was able to get so much done, modeling-wise. I mean, it was amazing what I was able to get done on both the 9294, the Admiral cab, my other Dash 9, my C32, the 6127, the Pier 6 hopper. Everything was getting done smoothly. And then I hit a brick wall. Or should I say, the Admiral cab hit a hardwood surface. As you can see, this is all that remains of my beloved Admiral cab 3310. This has probably been the first engine in a long time that I have absolutely broken down and cried over it being destroyed. What happened was I was coming into the train room and slipped on a patch of mud that was on the front step, fell right into the workbench here, and this thing just went airborne. I'm still not even sure how it happened, but it hit the floor, it shattered right down the center of the cab, broke into numerous pieces. These are the two largest chunks. There are tons of tiny little chunks that I still haven't even found yet. So, no Admiral cab for me. Crap. However, I will say with confidence, working with these Shapeway cabs for an Admiral cab, I'm going to show you right now a slideshow of the locomotive being built as I did it right now. And so with that, I can say with confidence that these Shapeways Admiral cabs are good, solid cabs, as long as they don't have to suffer from some kind of a violent impact. Because one thing that I had to do with the 3310 is that I had to do a lot of trimming to the frame, which made the frame extremely weak. Right here is where I had to do all of the trimming to get rid of the original cab and nose and the battery boxes that sat on here. You cannot remove these from an Athearn-style SD40-2, be it ready to run, be it blue box, be it anything. So, once that was completed, I then had to take two plastic shims, which you can see right here. Just a couple of thin shims made out of styrene, as well as a few that I had to mount up under the nose to make sure the engine was level and it wasn't going to sink in anything. Once that was completed, I was able to attach the nose solidly to the cab. As you can see, I'm tugging on it right now, and it's not going anywhere. The reason why is because I used a combination of super glue and this stuff. This is Tester's Contour Putty. This stuff is like modeling cement, basically. You need this for something like this. And so, that being said, once I did several layers of that, and as you can see, it didn't really fit good around the back section here. I had to do a lot of gluing and a lot of fill to get it to fit right. And I was left with a rough texture here around where the battery boxes would be on both sides, but eventually I was going to sand that down, although I just forgot and just painted it anyways. But anyways, that's what I would recommend. And then just every other detail part, paint and everything else, is added on yourself. So, that being said, these are not bad cabs. In fact, for someone like me that just doesn't have a lot of skills, I'm going to show you right here. That is kind of how it would have looked like in the end, if it had stayed together right. These cabs are not bad. I know a lot of people on the internet have thrown off on these Shapeways cabs. Yes, they are brittle. Yes, you do have to remove the manufacturing stuff off of it. Yes, you have to add on the detail parts, but come on. Isn't that what model railroading is about? Isn't that what doing a custom job that you can be proud of is? Why do you think I cried over this thing? Not the fact that these cabs are expensive so much, but the fact that I had put so much work and so much dedication into this to get it right, which I did, and then to have it break by strictly a freak accident. That's why I cried over this thing. But I am confident, and I can say to you out there in YouTube land with confidence, that these are not bad cabs, and I would absolutely recommend these if you want an Admiral cab in your fleet, but you don't want to custom build it, or you don't want to pay somebody to custom build it. These are not bad. I will say these over and over and over. These are not bad cabs. In fact, I will even put a link down in the description box to the Shapeways website for the guy that sells these. I know him personally. He's a good guy. He has good intentions with these things, and he took them down off the internet because people were bashing him so much over these. You know what? The rivet counters can do all they want. Leave him alone. He's doing this. He doesn't have to do this, but he did, and it gave us a good starting point. So take it as it is, add the details on yourself, and enjoy it. Okay, with that little rant being over, I'm going to move on to the other stuff. And at last, the last item on the wall of shame for this month is, unfortunately, as you can see, NS9294. The Dash 9 was coming along great, and then, thanks to the cold weather and the paint, when I hit it with the clear coat, the entire shell of the engine cracked all around. So, much like 3490, I'm having to strip it and start over again. Fortunately, I did not have the cab on the locomotive at the time, so the cab will be fine. There is a little bit of crackling on it from when I hit it with the dull coat, but not to the extent that the body was. So I'm not really worried about that. So, another project having to be redone, more money wasted. But at least this one is just an issue with the paint. I don't have a problem with that as long as it doesn't end up like the Admiral cab did. But I will, like the Admiral cab, I will rebuild this. I'll get them all back into service, and I'll have good, solid units running on the layout. Well, guys, it's definitely been a long month. We've definitely had a lot of stuff happening on the layout this time. So, yeah, that explains the length of this video. But, like I said, a lot of great stuff's been happening. A lot more than the bad, I would say. But, like I said, those engines on the workbench, I will get them rebuilt at some point, and they will be back into service. And hopefully you can't wait for my next blog video next month. So, with that being said, this is Ravenhawk6910 signing off.